my name is Brandy, and we live in McDonough, Georgia. Just 8 months ago, my daughter Ansley was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome at just 7 years of age. I would notice when she was getting ready for school in the morning that she would clear her throat a lot or cough, but it was not like she would do that all the time. It would be more in stressful times, and I would find it concerning, but didn't think too much about it until she started doing a hard eye blink or a strange kind of look with her eyebrows and her eyes that weren't really an eye roll, but just an odd kind of an expression. And it was concerning to me. I would tell my husband, look, doesn't it seem odd? But he wasn't home all the time. But what really got me was one day she started doing a shake of her head, and then I knew that we needed to go see a neurologist. I had heard of Tourette syndrome, but I wanted to kind of research the things that I'd been seeing to see if they kind of matched up with Tourette syndrome, in hopes that that wouldn't be what my daughter had. After all, nobody in my family or my husband's family that we knew of had Tourette syndrome. I'd heard that it had to be genetic. So I started researching, and I was heartbroken to find that it seemed to me that might be what my daughter had, but surely it wasn't what she had. Then I mentioned to the doctor why, she might be doing these other things. He said to me, well, you've done your research. What was it you had discovered and thought that your daughter had? And I said, well, I can tell you what I hope that she doesn't have. And he said, what is it that you hope she doesn't have? And I said, I hope that it's not Tourette syndrome. And the doctor said, I can tell you, your daughter does have Tourette syndrome. And I wanted to get up and run out of there, because everything I read told me that Tourette syndrome was incurable. There is no cure. I knew it wasn't life-threatening, but this was something I couldn't take away. It was something I couldn't fix for my daughter. I felt like the life I had envisioned for my child may have been stolen from her. And while Ansley's tics are mild, she does have Tourette syndrome. And we do not know anybody in either one of our families that have Tourette syndrome. I had a lot of struggles with not knowing anybody that had a child with Tourette syndrome. I couldn't call up my best friend or neighbor and say, so, how's your kid coping? How are you coping? I scoured the internet. I scoured, bookstores and anything I could get my hands on to read and educate myself, because I felt like that's the only option I had. I wanted to educate not only myself, but I wanted to educate my friends, my family, my husband, anybody that I could, anybody that could listen. I felt very alone. I felt like nobody understood what I was going through, let alone what my child was going through, what my child might go through. And I felt like a lot of people just didn't get it. I still feel like a lot of people just don't get it. My daughter's tics are very mild, and many people don't get it because they don't see it, or they don't realize that the whistle that she may make when she just does a random whistle, or the cough, or the sneeze, or the clearing of her throat, or the sniff, or the wrinkling of her nose, they don't realize those are tics. They don't get it. They think she doesn't have Tourette syndrome because her body's not jerking uncontrollably. Or, oh really, well that's not a big deal. But when people don't realize, because they're not at home and they don't see her in the comfort of her own home where she's comfortable in her family, where they see her doing these things when she's watching TV and comfortable at night, or before she gets ready for school and she's constantly clearing her throat or whistling nonstop. You have to think about how that interferes with her schoolwork. How if you're shaking your head constantly or whistling constantly, or for those that have OCD thoughts, how do you think about something else or concentrate in school when you have a repetitive thought going on in your head? How does that child function? Because what you see may be totally different than what that child's going through. That's a big deal to me. It's a big deal because my child deals with it every day. And I said, well, Ansley, is there anything else that you feel like you have to do? And she said, well, I used to have to say things over and over in my head, and I couldn't get words and thoughts out of my head. As a parent, it broke my heart. But how could I not know? How could I not know that my child was having repetitive thoughts and it was bothersome to her? She even told me that she would tell herself, stop it, why do you keep doing that, just stop it. And then she'd have to repeat the word stop it over and over and over in her head. That was my 7-year-old telling me that. But she said it didn't happen when she was 7. She said it happened way before she was 7. How could I, as her mother, miss that? Do you know how you feel as a parent knowing that this is going on in your child's head and you can't fix it? And to know that you don't even know what's going on. It's horrible. And then my child would come home and she would say, Mom, you know, Tourette syndrome's hard, but the hardest part is when I walk, sometimes I have to crack the bones in my feet. And it hurts, and I can't stop. And so when that happens and it's your child, and you can't fix it, and you can't make it stop, and you can't go away, it hurts. And you need answers, and you can't fix it. And you can't tell them it's going to go away because you can't lie to your child. And then when it goes away, because they wax and they wane, you hope that the neurologist was wrong, and you hope that you were wrong, and you hope that it really wasn't Tourette syndrome, it was just this weird thing, that, oh, it's gone away, hopefully it'll never come back. And you hope and you pray, and then it comes back. Something comes back, whether it be the same one or something different. And then you have the times when they go away, and then you kind of realize, well, it is Tourette syndrome, but they go away, and you think, dear God, what's coming back? Is it going to be one worse than the last one? You know, I've seen the videos of people with Tourette syndrome worse than my daughters. Are they going to get worse? I've heard they get worse around puberty. Is my daughter going to get it worse? So a lot of it for me isn't just about what my daughter goes through now. It's about what does the future hold for her. My daughter also suffers from ADD. She also has some learning disabilities. She has dyslexia. And she has some sensory issues. So I know she has some challenges, but I know that she's going to be okay. She's still the same little girl she's always been. I know that she's got the biggest cheerleader that she could have, because I'll be there, you know, through it all for her. And she knows that too. And the main thing that I wanted to do for my child is make sure that everybody I knew that this was not a secret. This is not something we're going to sweep under the rug. It is not something that we are to be ashamed of, because if I'm ashamed, if my husband's ashamed, if my family's ashamed, then my daughter will grow up believing that she needs to be ashamed. I want people to know that there's, you know, if your child is just being diagnosed, or your person is just being diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, you're not alone. You know, there's people out there just like you,